Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another live episode of the Man to Man podcast. I got a question for you. Men, married men out there, is it okay or should you share your passcode to your phone with your wife, right? And maybe not just the passcode to the phone, maybe there's other accesses that you have to give her or that you should give her on this device, and maybe even other devices that you have around the house. What do you think about that? That's what we're going to be talking about today. My name is James Howard Jr. I am one of your hosts, and this is
Raph Peters, what's going on, y'all?
yeah, man. We are here today just to introduce ourselves. If you guys are tuning in for the first time or watching this on the replay, I'm James Howard Jr. I'm a youth pastor out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Man, I love God, love helping men, honor God, and that's what we all about right here.
Amen.
Yeah. What about you? Who you is?
Look, I was like, oh, is this my turn? Raph Peters, pastor, church planner of Soldier Southside in Houston, Texas, from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and just humbled to be here and to be able to serve the Lord with you, brother.
Cool, man. That's what's up, man. We hadn't introduced ourselves in a couple episodes, man. And so for the replay value, we're gonna do
Yes,
that, man.
sir.
I'd like to thank y'all
Yes,
for
sir.
tuning in. Got a couple of people hanging out with us live. Even though we posted this thing last minute, man, y'all here. We
Yeah,
appreciate y'all tuning in today.
yeah. Shout
We
out.
have an interesting subject, man. We were actually gonna start diving into um love languages and different things like that. But
Mhm.
the Lord hit, man, and gave us some inspiration for this week. And I guess this would still be a continuation of
It
what
is.
question you should ask before you get married.
It is.
So we
Yes.
we just gonna say that that's what we got going on. All right, so man, let's just jump right into it. This is like really the only question or subject that we're going to be talking about today. We talked a little bit about it last night as we were prepping, and we talked about it for a clean 30-45 minutes, something like that, man. Just different ideas.
I feel
So
like the call was longer. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
the call was much longer than that, but yeah, we talked about this for sure. And so this is a question that can be debated, man. Should married men allow their wives to have full access to all of their devices and all of their stuff, man? As a general, kind of just quick answer, what would your quick answer be?
Yes.
All right, and I think I agree. I agree that yes, as a married man, like what's on here that
Yeah.
she can't see, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if it's stuff on here that you have access to that you're accessing and she can't see it, then I mean, come on, it's some problems we
It's a
got. It's
problem.
some problems.
It's a problem.
It's the things we got that we need to address. All right. And so
Yeah.
let me turn on do not disturb because all right, cool.
DND.
So anyway, man, so let's dive into this, man. So when we're asking this question, we're really looking at a couple things. We're looking at trust, we're looking at accountability, um, we're looking at things that we can offer our wives as far as peace, communication. Um, One of the practical ones we talked about was emergency situations. Like if you pass out on the floor and or something like that, and the access is needed on your phone, somewhat unique situation, but still, a
Yeah.
lot of different reasons why your wife should have your phone, man. So let's just kind of, in no particular order, man. Let's kind of just go through this and see what we're gonna talk about today, man.
Yeah.
So
I
we,
mean,
we both agree and say yes.
we
So let's
both
talk about
agree and
why.
say yes. So I think for me, I at the end of the day, we're giving counsel and advice and wisdom that we've experienced personally. And so as I think about this question, I think about myself. And we talked about it multiple times throughout this podcast. We just don't trust ourselves. And I think that at any point when I find myself trying to hide or keep something from either my wife or brothers that I'm in community with, or really just be honest, anybody, there's always something underlining that reason. And for the most part, it's never godly. It's always sinful. There are always something. And I think I just know myself, bro. Like when I think about even if people get into the Enneagram, I'm a 3 wing 4. And
Mhm.
as a 3, we are prone to hiding. We're prone to
Yeah.
covering up. We're prone to show you one thing and then behind closed doors be another thing. And
Right.
so because I know that's true, and that's not just the Enneagram score. Like when I took the Enneagram, it was like, oh wow, this is reading me right now because this is very much how I am. And because I know that even in how I engage with my social media accounts, there is a need for godly accountability, for somebody to be checking in, or at least for somebody to have some sort of access. And I think whenever we say, hey, here's my password, here are all the ways to have access to my accounts, what we're saying is ultimately, I don't want to be responsible solely for this thing that honestly has led so many men away. And
Right.
I think as we even talk about the conversation with lust, like it has been a thing. Like, and just talking with men, maybe your thing is not seeing an image on the discovery page.
Mhm.
Maybe your thing is conversations that you're not supposed to have. Or maybe you're taking those conversations too far, that we lack foresight at times,
Mhm.
and we need accountability and people to have foresight for us in the ways that we're blind. And I think that women, particularly wives particularly, have a wisdom, discernment, and foresight that we don't have. And especially as we're engaging social media, we're engaging with the opposite sex, because those are some of the things that you got to watch when you're on social media. And I think that our wives can be like, nah, like this is a little too much. This is, going past a friendly, cordial, joking stage. You might want to be careful. You might want to watch that. I think that it's just vital, bro. And so for me, knowing myself and knowing how I'm wired, I need it. And I realize it's not for everybody, but I don't want anything in the way. I don't want anything to hinder or uh, to to stunt the growth and intimacy that I am trying to grow in, not just with my wife, but ultimately with the Lord. And these little things, it's just little things that we do, right? Like I think that not hiding a password, reserving to give a password could be a small thing that the enemy uses. And just over time, there are different compromises that take place in our life, that being one, that ultimately lead to the big sin. Like it's not just
Right.
big sins just don't happen.
Nah, nah.
It's over time. And I think realizing that, being aware of that, knowing myself, I
Yeah.
gotta say, I gotta any opportunity to put myself out there, to be exposed, to be held accountable, I need it. So that's why I
Yeah.
say yes.
Yeah. And I think if you're watching this, our assumption is that you are seeking to follow what our mission statement is at Man to Man. It's to honor God in every single part of your life. That's why this podcast exists. That's why this channel exists, is
Yeah.
to help you men follow God in every single part of your lives, right? So, with that declaration on your life that you
Come
want
on.
to honor God in every single part of your lives, the parts that people see, the parts that everybody, that nobody sees, your thinking, your thoughts, your actions. If you are going to choose to honor God in every single part of your lives, man, this thing right here, right? It needs a master, right?
Yeah.
This thing should be a slave to you, not the other way around, right?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to giving passwords either to your wife, um, or to a close friend, accountability partner, man, I think it's vital. I think it's vital because like there's so many things that you can hide just on your phone right here. There's so many things that can go on. You have so many connections to inappropriate relationships, pornography, inappropriate movies, inappropriate jokes, and
Mm.
pages on Instagram that could seem innocent at first, but that's how sin works, man.
Yeah.
And when you have somebody that you know is going to be in your corner, somebody who's going to check on you, somebody, and you give them permission to check on you, man, it makes a difference because it
Yeah.
doesn't make you this lone wolf. The biggest trick that I think the enemy has is to separate us from other people, right? He's been doing that since day one.
Come on.
When sin entered the world, what was the first thing
Mm,
Adam and Eve did? What did they do? They
yeah.
separated from each other because they was like, oh snap, we naked. This is embarrassing. I'm going to
Mhm.
run away and I'm going to hide.
Mm,
Right? He puts you in seclusion. I don't know if I said that word right. He puts you alone. He puts
yeah.
you by yourself,
Yeah.
and he knows that when you're by yourself, that's when he can whoop your tail.
Come on now.
When you ain't got nobody to have your back, when nobody is there to support you or to help you, that's
Pooh
when the
time.
enemy comes and whoops you. Beats you down, man. Goodness.
Oh man, that's
And
so
so,
good, man.
yeah, go ahead. You was about to say something?
No, go. You keep
No,
going. You
it's
keep
just
going.
it's
Come on.
just that's just the thing,
Yeah.
man. And so first
Yeah.
thing I said, like it builds trust. If we're talking specifically about giving your wife the password to your phone, giving her access to it, um, then I think one thing it does in a healthy relationship, right? There
Yeah.
are some situations, man, where maybe this needs to be hashed out a little bit more than just saying, "Hey, here go my phone," or whatever.
Yeah.
But in a general sense, assuming that the marriage is somewhat healthy, it creates the relationship itself is somewhat healthy. It creates trust, right?
Yeah.
um I know one thing for me is my wife, she have access to my phone as much as she wants to. There, we can talk about this a little bit later. There are actually parts of my phone that I can't even use unless she's around. That's the way I
Uh,
set myself up to win, right?
yeah.
There's certain things that I can't download. There's certain websites or certain things that I can't access unless she's there in the room with me. Unless I say,
Yeah.
"Hey, could you put this password in real quick? I want to do this. I want to do that." Right? And it's not like she my mama, right? But I know me and I know my history with this thing and other devices, and I can't trust myself with this
Yeah.
thing alone for too long, right? And she can go in there, she can look up my history, she can look up everything, she can look at what apps I've been going on. And I gave her that permission because I know me and it helps us. And what it does for me and for her is that it builds that trust that, you know what, if my husband is so convicted about what he sees on his phone, like, he has to be convicted
Right.
about what he sees and what he does in real life, right?
Right.
So this idea of if he's cheating, if he's being unfaithful, if he's looking at women and not looking at me, like, all that stuff just disappears because she knows that
Yeah.
I trip when I'm scrolling on Instagram and I see something and I'd be like, yo, I saw this picture, whatever, whatever, whatever. She knows that, right? Because
Yeah.
we built that type of thing. And so it builds that trust in her where I'm not creating this tension and this war inside of her where she's wondering if I'm going to be faithful, or she's wondering if, another woman comes along, will he leave? Like, none of that's even in the question
Yeah.
because of simple things like this. And that's not the only thing. Giving her the
Right.
password to my phone doesn't, like, make that all that stuff okay. It's other things that we have done over the 13 years we've been together that have
Yeah.
added to that trust. But
That's
that's a
good.
big step, man.
That's good.
It's letting them have the access to that phone, man, or other
Yeah.
device.
What you were saying, I think the thought that came to mind for me is this is not just for you. This is for them. And I think too often we just think that it's for us, which is why we kind of have the problem. Like, well, I don't need this, or like, why do you want to do all of that? And it's like, it's not just for your own accountability as well, but it's also to build the trust, to be charitable, to create a atmosphere of peace. But then I think too, like it communicates and it's an opportunity to express ultimately um, this reality of the union. Like we become one, and this oneness, which we've talked about before, is expressed in different aspects of our lives. And even as we think about what does it mean to be a husband, you're a priest, a provider, a prophet, all the things, a protector, all of these things that God has called. And when we talk about provision, we're not just talking about financial provision. It looks different in different ways. And I think as well as like this union, it looks different in different ways. And what does it look like for our phones or for our social media accounts to also display the union? Now, that's not to say like I've seen couples, they've got like couple pages, like the husband doesn't have a page, it's his family page. That might be something that you should do, but I think that too often social media is an opportunity for us to live into our autonomy when we're not individuals anymore. And we use the reason why we want to hold on, because we still want to hold on to our autonomy. We still want to hold on to our identity as an individual instead of realizing that God has now formed the two into one. And so now it's an opportunity, even in sharing my password, to live into that. And most guys are like, nah, I don't want to give that up. And there's an unwillingness. This has become the idol, or the thing, the one thing that I just gotta hold on to. I'm gonna fight to the death to hold on to this, all the while losing trust, all the while falling to lust, all the while having so many realities that you have to face because you just don't want to share a password. So I think that there's a lot to say there. And I think, it's an opportunity, it's an apologetic, like that. It's in all things that the Lord is desiring to use for his glory and the advancement of his kingdom. And I know that it sounds crazy to the world to say, something like, my wife has my passwords to all of my social media accounts. My wife has access to all of this. There are no secrets in our marriage. There are no things that I don't have, like, if we talk about finances, I don't have this secret account that I'm stashing away money. We got one joint account. I think it's an apology. Why is this? Because of what God has done. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for me to have to hide. Actually, when I'm hiding and I'm not in the light, that's where sin and darkness is present.
Right.
And I just don't want to live. I want to live in the light. And I don't want even my good to be perceived as evil. So I want to be above reproach. And I want my wife to not even have to worry about, and even a thought of, I wonder if has he been looking? Is he talking? And I think that the enemy uses those things, man. And it's dealing with the problem before the problem. It's saying, hey, I'm not going to allow this to even be a problem in my marriage. I'm just going to go ahead on the front end and take the initiative. I think, man, it's different. It's countercultural in some ways. I don't know if I said that right, but it's counter the culture. And I believe it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so too, man. And we touched on something. I want to play the devil's advocate, right, for a little bit, but I want to say this too. We also talked about sharing your location, like on your phone, letting her have access like that. Like that's the kind of access we're talking about, man. And I was just thinking one day, man, me and my wife, we shared each other's location, and she was out shopping, and I was like, let me see where she is. And I just remember like looking at that and just thinking like, man, how many, and she can do the same thing with me. I was like, man, how many men would be willing to do this, right?
Yeah.
Would be willing. And it may be a lot of guys. It may be, right? Who are willing to allow their wives to have access to every single place they go to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, like, when you think about it, man, like just for me, just in my life, man, there ain't nothing I'm trying to hide from my wife, man. But it makes me second think about a lot that I do, right? Because if I'm like if my wife knows I love to go to Dirt Cheap, and sometimes I go to Dirt Cheap when it's just like I'm driving by. Why not? Why not just go to Dirt Cheap? And I was like, I'm gonna run in here real quick. You know what I'm saying? And then like every once in a while she call me. She's like, "Why you at Dirt Cheap?" I was driving by
at
so
the register.
Right?
What do I hear in the background?
How much was that total? Whatever. But it's that sense of accountability where, like, even with something like simple like that, man, I'm thinking about all that I'm doing and how it would affect my wife, man, and not trying to like hide. And it's just like, man, why would you want to put yourself in that position where you feel like you want to, like, that you have to hide stuff from your wife, man? It creates such a big gap for the devil to just come and feel and to come just wreck a marriage and wreck the trust and wreck the intimacy in the marriage and all that kind of stuff, man. I still want to play devil's advocate, but it sounds like you want to say something. It looked like you want to say
No,
something.
no, no. I was waiting on you to actually play devil's advocate, but I mean, all of what you said. I mean, the first thought as far as sharing location is like general. Number one is just safety. Like, I think at least for me, especially now that we got kids, and it's like, sometimes like just Houston, just how massive and crazy it is. It's like I just want to know just to make sure you're safe. Anything happen, I'm right there. But I understand that you got some couples and married couples who, the wife might be a little crazy, or the husband might be a little too obsessive and controlling, and sharing, location may kind of feed that negative thing. And I think that's a reality of something that you have to assess and discern as well and walk through, because the hope is that your marriage is honoring the Lord and that you're honoring God in all that you do. So even with like my shared location, I'm not doing this because I'm controlling, or I've got obsessive disorder and I just got to know every step that you take. But like, no, I just want to be a protector in this situation. And I think you got to talk through that. You got to know your spouse. And I think that some of these things might come out, so that might be good. Hopefully this is happening. She crazy
Yeah.
before you get married.
Right.
You
Y'all
ain't
need to be
gotta worry.
talking. Y'all need to go back and watch every single live stream we've done on this channel. The last 4 or 5 videos are
Yeah.
questions you should be asking
You
and
gotta ask
talking
it.
about
You
before
gotta ask.
you get married, bruh.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
you try, ladies, if you're watching too, if you try and you ask those questions, you have conversations, and it ain't just about sex and dating and just going out and having fun. You really get to know that person. You gonna know that if they're crazy in 3 months. I promise you, about 3 months, you gonna see something. You gonna be like,
Yeah. Yeah. Time is a big thing, bro. Time is a big thing. I don't think that we give relationships enough time, because like, I mean, even now, I mean, your spouse is always changing, but I think that there are some big things that you don't just know within the first month. You got to have some lived experience to begin to, because I remember there's just layers to it. So me and my wife dated 4 years, almost 5, and there were things that I didn't know about her as far as how she responds to certain things. Then we get engaged and we're preparing for the wedding. And I remember it being stressful. So now this is really, I've seen her stressed from an education standpoint, like, exams in school, trying to graduate college, all of that. That's different. But now you've got wedding, and that's a different type of stress. And I remember there were a lot of like, oh wow, like this is how she's responding. And I'm sure I was probably giving off some of the same, like, you ain't responding enough, you're not concerned enough. But
oh, I
like,
said, don't ignore them red flags, man.
don't ignore it, because it will come up. You say, hey, this ain't by coincidence. My wife not crazy, but some people might end up realizing the person I'm with. Wow.
Dude. Hey, let's take a quick step back. I want to read this thing. It says this is when we were specifically talking about sharing your location. It's not about micromanaging, insecurity,
On,
jealousy, and
yeah.
anything like that. It's just about a deeper level of trust and accountability. And this thing for us specifically is such just a non-factor. And so thankful. She's so thankful for that. Like and my wife has expressed this to me. Like I said, we've been together, been married for 13 years, been together for what, 15 plus years. And like she's expressed to me on multiple occasions, like, thank you for being so transparent, thank you for being so honest, thank you for being so real, because she had been in relationships where it was always questionable and it was always just like, huh, and it's like, what, in the sense of peace I'm able to bring to her because of my just simple, first of all, obedience to God, right, and then my trusting, my giving trust to her is just a big thing, man. And she says that what
What she ended up saying?
she was talking about the wedding stuff. She
I was
during
crazy, dude.
the wedding.
While in graduate school, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? But I mean,
it was raw.
how similar these things kind of bring out some stuff too, because I think, we got 4 kids now, and it's like we lack sleep. And how does
Mm,
the person that you're preparing to get married to, how do they respond to these things? And what realities come, and you need to know for yourself too, because maybe this is the reason why you need to share your password, because you get to a point where you have all of these things that you can't control.
mm,
The password in social media, what you view, how you engage it is within your control. But in those moments, it leads you to sin. So it's
mm,
like, yeah, you need to take inventory of yourself and your spouse, and let God speak into, the ways in which you engage. There was something that I was thinking as you were talking that I thought was good, but as I said that point, it made me forget. But devil's advocate, I know, was a
yeah,
thing.
devil's advocate. Let's go back to that, man. And so, what do we say to the men who come to us who may leave a comment in the future and
Man.
says, "Dude, you don't know my wife though. Like
Yep.
she is a little crazy. I love her, but she a little crazy, and she always think I'm doing something when I ain't did nothing. She
Mm.
always every time I say something to a woman, she always think I'm trying to flirt with her. Man,
Yep.
she just crazy, man. She whatever. What do you say to a guy that may be in that situation? And there are a couple ways we can go with that, but I want to hear your thoughts. A guy who
Yeah.
may
So
rebuttal against it.
I'm
Come
gonna
with a
tie
strong case
into
for why.
Yeah, I'm gonna tie into what I was thinking that I had forgot and I just remembered. I think that, one, just simply put, the Lord covers you.
Mhm.
The Lord knows how to, keep us in ways, defend us where we don't have to defend ourselves. Too often in marriage, we are on the defense, and we don't allow God to just be the one. And sometimes it's just like, you don't have to have that fight. Like, honor the Lord in what you do. Allow Him to cover you. Like, period. Like, you can try to get into all the things, but are we honoring God? I think that that's a big telltale sign at the end of the day in how we respond in situations like this. What we're willing to do and not willing to do really ultimately comes from our communion with God and our relationship with Him. And it's like, if I am intimate with the Lord as well as intimate with my spouse, everything is exposed. Everything is yours. It's not mine's. My life is not my own anymore. And so, in what ways can I live that out and display that in the ways that I engage with my spouse and in the ways that I engage with the Lord? So I would say, sure, she might believe that. Keep keep faithfully doing the right thing. Keep faithfully doing the right thing, and the Lord he will expose it. He will show her. He will open her eyes. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, and there might be a reason why she feels that way, and it's justified. And brother, you just need to know, you cheated, you stepped out, or whatever the case may be. It takes time. So many guys want, issues like that to be over in a day, and it's like, no, it's a process of restoration, and there will still be moments because of your history, which is why, like,
Yeah.
it is just so important, that, on the front end, you deal with these things so that you're not dealing with them in your marriage. You bring these things into your marriage. And so, not to say that you're going to be perfect, but to also say, like, at the end of the day, there's work that's needed to be done. And you wouldn't have even been here if you just would have done the work. So let's just go ahead and, like, let it be known you didn't do the work on the front end. It's why the situation is what it is. And it's just going to take some time. Serve the Lord, love Him, love your wife, give her no reason or excuse, and leave it to God. I there's an obvious reality that there's nothing that you can do right now, nothing that you can do right now to change this reality about your wife.
Mm,
She questions what you're doing on social media, no matter how many times. So that's completely out of your control. What is
mhm.
in your control is how you serve the Lord and how you engage in certain things like social media. Give her that password, give her no reason, keep moving forward, being faithful to the Lord. That's what I mean. I know you don't want to hear that. I know you want an answer, a solution, but let me not Jesus juke you, but let me Jesus juke you. He's the solution.
Yeah, man. So this is what I would say, man. If a guy comes to me and he was like, "Bro, you don't understand. My wife, she just She paranoid, yada yada yada, whatever the case may be, man. There'll be two questions I would ask. First would be about her history, right? Her history. Has she been in past relationships where she was maybe cheated on multiple times on multiple guys, or it was one significant relationship she had before you and the guy stepped out on her? So you got
Daddy
that, right?
issues.
Those are daddy issues, stuff like that. Those are questions y'all need to be having before you get married, right? Go back and watch all the other lives that we've done, right? So those are the kind of questions you need to have before you get married, so that that type of stuff can be worked out or worked through as you're going into marriage or in the early years of marriage, right? So her history, right? Her history with relationships. And you have to respect that, right? You have to understand and be like, you know what? Maybe she hasn't worked through this. Maybe she needs to work through this, and be patient with her as she goes through it. If a dude did her dirty, she ain't just gonna magically
Overnight.
trust every single dude that's gonna come
Mhm.
in front of her, right? That
Yeah.
stuff you got to work through. This stuff you got to
Yeah.
process, especially if it was a significant relationship that she had. If she was divorced because of
Mm.
because he cheated, or even if they were engaged, or even she was in a really good relationship. So be aware of her history, and then be aware of your history, right?
Yeah.
If like Raph said, if you stepped out on her specifically,
Yeah.
and you mad that she wants to have access to your stuff, and you're truly genuinely trying to work on your marriage, and you're genuinely wanting your marriage to get better, bro, you ain't got the right to hide anything. You ain't got the right to even have no phone, right?
Yeah.
If you cheated on your wife
Mm.
and you want to restore the marriage and get it back to where it was and even better, you forfeited all that stuff, in my opinion. You
Yeah.
forfeited all the privacy that you had. If you genuinely want to be a man after God's own heart and really work on that marriage and restore it to where it needs to be in your relationship with God, right? You
That's good, bro.
forfeited all that privacy, to me. That's just my opinion, right?
Yeah.
And so if she knows that you are the type of person and you truly want to gain more trust, man, like, that's something you just got to give up quickly, right?
That's
She
good.
has to see your phone. All right, cool. If
Yeah.
she wants to see your social media, like, if she walking by you and you scrolling down an Instagram girl page and she see stuff and she like,
Hold up.
yeah, you supposed to be looking at me like that. Why are you looking at her like that?
Why you
It just popped up. But she see that multiple times a week and catch you looking at stuff on there. What you think she gonna think, bruh?
You done
You
liked it
can't
million
you
times.
right. You can't get mad at her because she want to hold you accountable to that, especially if y'all agree to it, right? Especially if you agree to that, right? And
Yeah.
and so, man, that's just my thing, man. If anybody has that rebuttal or anything like that, man, like, dude, if the goal is to grow in your marriage and to honor your wife and to honor God in your marriage, dude, like, you already forfeit a lot of the conveniences and comforts and luxuries of devices and social media that the world enjoys. And you're gonna have
And
to be okay with that, whether you're married or not, really, honestly.
yeah, I
It's
think
just
it
my
goes
opinion.
back to what we talked about a little bit last night. And I think it's like the question is like that many guys have, especially in regards to this topic, this subject, is does it take all that? Does it take all of that for my wife to have trust? Does it take all of that for me to, be maturing in the Lord and honoring Him in all that I do? And obviously, if we look at the scriptures as far as what it looks like to follow Jesus, right, is to deny yourself. See, look, that's it.
Look at that. Look at the Lord.
To deny yourself. And then, I mean, even as we talk about like lust, like, if you're caught in sin, like Matthew 5 is pretty clear. You cut off the hands, you gouge out the eyes, and sharing the password might be part of cutting off the hands. Like, I'm not going to allow myself to be the only one that has access to this. I need other people to be able to have eyes on this. And there's just the call to die to yourself. The call to follow Jesus is an extreme and radical one, and it's one where it's going to look extreme and radical in all different phases. And so the answer is, does it take all of that? Is yes. Yes, it
Yeah.
does. And
Yeah.
God is calling you to that, and
Yeah.
it's not without His help, but He's calling you to that. And I think, just to take it a step back to, So you didn't ask the right questions on the front end before you got married, right? You didn't do the investigation. You didn't do the things that you should do to know this spouse. Now it's time to do the work. This is giving you an opportunity to ask the right questions. Okay, so what is it that is causing you to feel uneasy and to not trust me? And I think those are the times when you hear about the past, or tell me, hey, what would make you feel more safe? What would build more trust? Like, speak to me as far as what you need from me and how I can. And men, we just have to learn how to adjust and listen, adjust, and apply. Like, let me not, and I'm guilty of this often. It's like, hear my wife say something multiple times, and it's like, you're not listening. I said I needed this. Like,
Yeah.
men, we just need to respond and say, okay, like, how can I adjust and serve my wife? How can I serve my wife? I think that all of those things are things that are needed in this conversation. But yeah, it does take all of that. To go back to just the original thought, it takes all of that. And I
Yeah.
hate to tell you that.
Go. Yeah. Here's the
I don't
thing,
hate
man.
to
If
tell
you
you
watch it, no, we don't.
that.
Unapologetic. You're
I'm not gonna
here.
apologize for that.
You're here. If you're here and you're watching this video, then you are probably trying to do your best to do whatever you got to do to honor God,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And the luxuries and conveniences of life are no longer a priority for you.
yeah.
Here's the thing, man. I was meeting with a group of guys last night. We were reading this book. I think it's Disciplines of a Godly Man. I think that's the name of it. I had to bring it next time we were on live so I could see it. Disciplines of a Godly Man, and it talked about protecting your mind, right? I know we kind of going off in a little rabbit hole,
No,
but
this
it,
is
it
good. Go
all
ahead.
it all works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It talks about protecting your mind as it relates to just being disciplined as a man of God. And this book is would seem extreme to the world, but there are so many things, man, that we allow ourselves to consume that are just eating us alive, man. And that question of does it take all that is yeah. The answer to it is yeah, like you just said, man. And I've mentored guys for years who I have some guys who I tell, like, man, you're gonna have to let some stuff go, right? Specifically when we talk about pornography, that's one of the main things I meet with guys about. I want to stop looking at pornography, man. I want to stop, watch a video, man. I want to stop. I want to get off Instagram, girls pages and stuff like that, man. I want to do it. I was like, well, okay, what do you need to do to stop that? And one of the first things I'll say is like, man, we should probably lock up your phone. Let somebody have the password and lock it up or get rid of it. And I've had dudes, man, who were just like, I just don't know if I'm ready. I got class assignments that I got to do on my phone. I got a phone for work, and I got, man. And there's all these excuses that we come up with
Excuses.
to reasons why. Yeah, you may use your phone to text and call people, but do you need a smartphone to do that? And I've
Yeah,
talked about it on this channel before, man. It was a point in my life, and I told the guys last night, my small group, there was a point in my life, man, where like, bro, I probably could have been like a monk or something, right? Like I could have been, a Christian monk who didn't watch anything. Like it was one point where I got rid of my smartphone, I got rid of access to certain TVs, any movie that was rated R was gone. It was in the trash. That it was back when you had DVDs, right? All that stuff was gone, man, because I understood like all this stuff, it are portals and just windows to lust and to that send me down the wrong path. And even though it may not be pornographic stuff on that movie, when I see that, it makes me go get something that's on my
yeah,
computer or on my phone, man. And so there was this time in my life, my freshman year of college, man, where I got rid of everything I could that led me down a path of sin and lust, man. And I think for guys, like we have to be aware of that, especially if you're in your marriages, man. Like if you haven't already, you need to be aware of those things that are connected to you. What subscriptions do you have that are
yeah,
allowing you to do stuff? And most of the stuff, some of the stuff, y'all, that I had to let go of wasn't necessarily bad stuff. People probably look at me, be like, man, why you get rid of your Instagram account, man? Why you stop following all these people on Facebook. Why you start doing all of that? It's not bad. It's not sinful. And I was like, no, it's not. But it led me to some things that were sinful. And I think that's one thing, man. We just need to be aware of it. I know I'm saying the same thing over again. You go ahead.
Oh, that's good, bro. I think it's the reality of pruning. You know, it's like just because it's not dying doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be cut off.
Right.
And you know, we got the things that are dying that need to be cut off, and we got the things that are just there, but it's getting in the way of growth. It's getting in the way of our love. And I think the issue is it's funny that you use the word monk, because I had a group of guys last night and we were talking about a particular subject as far as like dating, the desire to be with a woman, the desire for companionship. And he's like, y'all just want me to be a monk? And the response was like, ultimately, like, no, bro, like we want you to enjoy God. We want your joy in him to increase. And this is obviously the idol that's stealing your gaze and your eyes from Jesus. And you are not able to see him as the most precious thing because your eyes are so focused here. And it also shows that you don't trust that Jesus is going to give you the things that you need, that he's already thought about that. That he's working it out, that he's a sovereign God and has a plan in place for you. And even if you don't get it, that he's enough. That the reality is you believe that this is what's going to truly satisfy you and not him. And that's a problem. We look at this. So it's funny that the book is called Discipline. Like we were talking about church discipline and, you know, just regular disciplines, too, Christian disciplines. Discipline is something that we see as a negative. We see it as, you know, growing up, our parents disciplining us. They get in the belt, the switch, whatever they got to get to discipline us, to whoop us, to do what we need to do. And that's not what true discipline looks like. It's not just the Lord just trying to put you in a situation that is inconvenient for you, but it's, hey, I want to see your love grow and I want to direct you. And it's these things that are directing you toward where you need to be. You're putting these things in place to direct you where you need to go. And so discipline is not a negative. It's a needed thing if we truly want to grow in our love for God and in our knowledge of him. We need it. We can't just live life aimlessly and not put things in place. And I think we see that, and we're willing to be disciplined with so many other things.
Right.
It's like you're willing to go, and for some of these guys, I'm sure they're working out. They're willing to discipline themselves to either get up or to consistently walk into a gym. That requires discipline. That requires you giving up something to do that thing. And I think too often we're like giving the excuses as to why. And you make time for the things that you love. And what this is revealing is that Jesus is not your ultimate love. And hey, bro, that's okay. I just need you to know that this is the reality. And, you know, if we're honest, if you're trying to honor the Lord, that's not okay. But it is okay in the sense of like, bro, this is really the truth. And you just need to own that. You need to come to this place of just saying like, all right, dog, I'm sorry I'm giving you so many excuses. Really, I just love my phone more than I love Jesus. Really, I mean, because the reality is the phone, bro, we've been talking. We done had multiple conversations with you, and the phone is the obvious thing that's in the way. The phone is the thing that's leading to your downfall, all of the sin cycles that you got. If you just delete social media, I can't. I just need to be up to date on what's. Hey, bro, that's what you love. You love it more than Jesus. That's cool.
Wow. Yeah, man.
Y'all understand. Dude. That's not cool, but that's the reality.
Yeah, that's the reality of it, man. And it's a decision you're gonna have to make. Right. Yeah. And only you can make that decision, man, to cut off whatever it is that is leading you down a path that is ungodly. That's the decision you're going to have to make. We have made the decision before. We have had to wrestle with getting rid of phones, blocking passwords, and having passwords and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, it is what it is, man. Call it what it is. My wife is ruthless right today. Jeez, all right, man. So, hey, so we got to wrap up today. And so here's the thing, man. If you're watching this on replay, what are some other subjects that you want to talk about? Let's sound off in the comments. Different things like this. It can be related to marriage. It can be related to spiritual disciplines. It can be related to whatever. Right? We got the 5 different things we talk about on this channel. And so don't forget, if you're watching this on social media on Facebook, part of the group, make sure you're connected. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed. We have a special episode coming up next week, bruh. Right?
Come on, let's go.
So the
Yes,
plan
sir.
is Raph is going to be back home. He'll be back in the other H town, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and we're going to be here in the studio.
Yes,
The
sir.
plan is to do a live stream, and then we'll actually record some other videos that we'll have that we'll post later on in the month. And so very excited about that. So if you're watching this on replay, make sure you're tuned in next Friday. Not sure what time we're gonna shoot for next week, but just be ready. Just be ready and stay connected with all the social media accounts so that you guys can be updated for all of that. But other than that, man, thank y'all for tuning in to this episode of the Man to Man podcast. Leave your comments down below. Let's hear your feedback, man, and let's continue to help men honor God in every single part of their lives. Y'all have a blessed day. Peace.